The concept of self-forgiveness, and that turned her life around. This has given her the ability to approach life with an open heart, and an understanding that by only identifying and then releasing past patterns can we move forward to create the life we so desire. A life filled with joy, love, self-forgiveness, and acceptance. Please welcome Brenda Reiss, everybody.
You're tall. It's like, wow. Need to grow a bit. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's crackled. I'm not going to give you that crackly mic.
Thank you. Perfect. It was the 9th year of my former marriage. A marriage that was fraught with chaos and abuse. We were perfect, though, in that chaos because he was controlling and angry and I was codependent. And in my codependency, I didn't want to cause waves. I wanted to be everything I could be to him. I wanted to make sure that he was comfortable, that all of his needs were met, and that everything was in its place just the way he wanted it to be. Not cause any waves. I learned that from a young age, because if you caused waves, you got in trouble. And if I was in trouble, I wasn't loved. In this marriage, I started to notice that there was a little bit of a shift in his behavior. And I was thinking, something's going on. I had that intuitive nudge. You know, you guys ever have those? And it's intuitive nudge, and I thought, is there someone else? No, there can't be anybody else. He's too busy. He doesn't even have time for me, let alone have somebody else. And of course, he said no. But I was conflicted because that nudge. Well, I did what most women I know would do, and I went looking. There's gotta be something. And I found it. My heart broke. I went into shock. I couldn't breathe. And then the sobbing started. And I was asking myself, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Do I not matter? In my pain, I needed to get away. So I got in my car. And I just had to go somewhere, right? I needed to be somewhere, anywhere but there. And I found myself on a 2-lane road in gut-wrenching pain, tears streaming down my face, trying to figure out how could I be in this pain, and how could I get out of the pain? How could I stop this pain? And I noticed on this 2-lane road a semi-truck coming towards me. And it just made sense. Maybe that could ease my pain. So I started to steer the car towards the semi-truck in the other lane. And as I got closer, something guided the steering wheel away from the semi-truck. Now my hands were on the wheel, but I didn't do it. And as I came to a slow stop on the side of the road, I felt this warmth come around me. My tears started to subside. And that's when I heard the words, "I've got you. I've got you." And it was in that moment that I had a deep knowing that I did matter. But there were some choices that I needed to make. Because see, I had been giving away my power all of my life to relationships. And especially this one. This was a big one. I was wanting him. Everything was his, right? His dreams were mine. His comfort was important. He was a priority. I didn't set any boundaries for myself, and I didn't take responsibility for me. Until that day. And that's the day I woke up and decided to make some changes. Now, it wasn't easy, but I've got some lessons that I've learned along the way that I'd like to share with you tonight. You guys ready? Okay. Relationships are for growth and healing. They are not all Hollywood and fairy tale, okay? I was very disappointed to learn this in my adult life because I had read all of those romance novels in my teenage years. And I thought I had it figured out. I was wrong. So don't let them tell you that. Now, what relationships are for, though, is they are mirrors for us. I learned a really valuable lesson. Now, what this means is that if you want to know what you don't like about yourself, or something that you've denied, repressed, or rejected about you, that you can't quite get to the surface, all you have to do is look at the people around you in your life. They will show you in a reflection. Now, this happened for me in this anger reflection. Remember, he was controlling and angry, and I'm codependent. And I've got 3 reflections I want to share with you that I learned from this relationship that was extremely valuable. The anger reflection showed up after I had left the marriage. I was living in a rundown apartment because that's the only thing that I could afford. And I was fixing this desk that had kind of fallen apart. And I had the hammer and hitting the nail, but I missed the nail and I hit my thumb. Okay, how many of you have done that? Yep. Okay, so instead of a few choice words, I went into a raging, angry blackout, and I ripped that desk apart. It was a pressboard desk, one of those really hard desks. I came to a few minutes later, crying, laughing, going, "Whoa, what was that? I didn't know I had that in me." It was a reflection. Looking back, see, he was outwardly angry. And I was stuffing it inside until I couldn't anymore. So be careful with those hammers, okay? The second reflection was the betrayal reflection. Now, I want to explain that when I talk about it being a mirror, I don't mean that it's an exact mirror, because in this case, the betrayal wasn't about the other person. This was, where was I betraying myself? Right? That's probably been the biggest aha to date for me. Where was I giving away my power? Where was I not speaking up? Where was I putting my dreams on hold? That was betraying myself. So I started to get curious about these, and I started to take some action. That's what a reflection can do. And the third reflection is that control reflection. Remember, he's angry and controlling, and I'm codependent. And I was fascinated by this because I could see where he was controlling. But then I started to go, wait a second. I'm controlling my environment and the people in it by not causing waves. I'm doing this out of safety. I'm doing this to protect myself from the unknown so that I didn't get hurt again. Now I learned, right, when we suffer abuse in our younger years, we can have these mechanisms that we base our life on. But in adulthood, they don't work so well. How many of you tried to control the unknown? Does that work? Absolutely not. So I was grateful for this reflection because I got to learn to trust myself more, and I got to trust that voice that I heard in the car that day. Now, I want to say a caveat here about the reflections that I'm talking about. When I talk about this mirror, the reflection in a relationship, it's not condoning bad behavior, and it's not taking the blame for something. He had his things to learn, and so did I. But when we decide to shift our perception on how we look at our stories, how we look at our relationships, how we look at what we've got inside, it can be life-changing. Because what it did for me was it enabled me to pull my power back from him. Because when I'm blaming somebody, it's all going that way, and I have no control over anybody but myself. So that was a huge, powerful move for me to make. Now, the point number 2 that I want to make too, the second lesson, besides the reflections, is that everything has a purpose and a meaning. So think about it for a minute. Do you have something in your life that you never thought you were going to make it through? That you didn't know how you were going to do it? And then when you reflect back, you could see the blessing in it. Maybe it's something that changed the trajectory of your life. Maybe it's something that got you on a different career path, a different relationship, a move. Something that you could look back and go, wow, I would have never done that. Do you guys have that? Have you experienced that? I didn't know if I was going to make it through that time, but because of uncovering the things underneath the pain and the sorrow that I was going through, I found me. I was able to bring my dreams into reality. And I'm standing here on stage as one of my dreams with you tonight. And I was also able to respect myself on a deeper level than I've ever been able to respect myself before, because when you're diving deep into codependency, that respect is the farthest thing. So what is the pivotal thing in your life? The third lesson was I surrendered what I thought I needed to have in order to be safe, which was depending upon someone else to love and accept me. Now, we all know, if we can't love and accept ourselves, there is no way that we can love and accept someone else. This was an inside job that I had to do. I had to learn to forgive and accept all parts of me, the good, the bad, the ugly. Because when we can incorporate both sides of us, right? All sides, that's where we have wholeness. Now, it's much easier to accept the good, right? Than it is the ugly. But I was willing to take the courage to look at the shadow side and find out what was there so I could try to become a whole person. And here's some of the things that I got to do. I dug in. I got rigorously honest with myself. And where was I hiding? What behaviors did I need to change? Where was I not taking responsibility? I learned about codependency and I got help. I started to figure out what I liked instead of knowing what everybody else liked. I started asking, what are my dreams? And I started writing them down. And then I embarked on the forgiveness of myself, healing the shame and the guilt that kept me stuck in those patterns and behaviors. And I started to become an integrated human being. This led me to standing in the kitchen of our former home, looking at my husband at the time on this beautiful sunny afternoon and saying to him, we need to work on this marriage for real this time, or I need to leave. Now, there's that part of me that's going, yeah, he's going to say, yes, let's work on it. And instead, it was, Brenda, I can't do it. I want to stay married to you, but I can't do what you're asking me to do. So I paused, and I took a breath, and I said, okay then, I have to leave. That was one of the most courageous moments in my life, that pivotal moment that changed the trajectory of my life. I was taking another step towards me and away from him. I realized I was living the life that I desire a few years later when I was sitting in a booth in a restaurant with that ex, the same one that I wanted to drive into a semi-truck with. We were laughing. We were getting along. I wasn't dependent upon him. And he looks at me and he says, Brenda, we are sitting here today because of the forgiveness work that you've done. We have the relationship today because of that. And I am so grateful. And he had tears in his eyes as he said, but I am still so sad about the hurt and the pain that I caused you. And because of this work, I was able to reach across the table and take his hand in mine. With all the love and compassion, I looked at him and said, hey, I've already forgiven you. When are you going to forgive you? And what brings it full circle is that my ex is in the room tonight. I'd love to leave you with this. Forgiveness is powerful. What it does is free you from the shame, guilt, and pain you carry so that you can create the life that you desire. And when you do that, it ripples out all around you. And we really need that because when we forgive ourselves, we create a forgiving world. Thank you.
Keep it going, please. Very nice, everybody. Okay. After such an emotional and inspirational speech, we should have some fun, right? Okay. Now, I asked Brenda, I was a surprise to her, I approached her while we were all out there working the crowd. And I said, Brenda, after you give such an amazing, emotional, powerful speech, why don't we have you help this chucklehead with heads or tails? Y'all want to play heads or tails tonight? Okay. You see, and being a forgiveness coach, she's going to be the one reading the heads or tails. So if you get mad,
I forgive you.
exactly. It's called ownership, right?
Yeah.
Let's actually trade places. You'll be on this side.
All right.
Don't trip. Okay. So, I need everybody that paid the fee, the $10. Who's got the little rings? All right, everybody who is involved, raise up those rings.